Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the NextGen dialogue. Today we're in our other episode in our series whereby we meet with the different individuals who are making strides in this generation. And today's not an exception. I have an amazing guest in the studio today as we start this series of individuals who are making strides in the academic field, in the research field. So if you're joining us, if you're connected to us, please share with us where you're watching us from. If you're watching us from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, from Australia, from America, please share with us where you're watching us from. Welcome to the Unleashed, the Next Gen Dialogue, episode three. And today, as I said, I have an individual that I have, and I'm going to share his bio and so that you get to understand what's this all about. And today we have an amazing topic that we're going to be talking about, the doctoral mind. What's with these people? And sometimes we get to think, and those amount of research and books and papers that these guys do, you would wonder what's happening. So today we're going to be navigating their mindset. Do they have time to do? Where do they find that time to read those volumes of it? So today, I have an amazing brother, doctor. I'm so proud to today say doctor. Dr. Emmanuel E Adade is a scientist whose work blends biology, advanced imaging, and artificial intelligence to explore the hidden world of microbes. I'm trying really hard to really
Take your time.
he recently earned his PhD in biology from the University of Albany, where he developed innovative ways to see and study how microscopic organisms interact with their hosts. His research has applications in health, biotechnology, and environmental science. Emmanuel is also the founder of the Dream Achievers Network, a nonprofit dedicated to providing resources and mentorship to young people, guiding them on their academic journeys. Passionate about sharing science, mentoring, and creative problem solving, he brings both expertise and inspiration to his work. Outside the lab, he enjoys playing the piano and spending time with his family and friends. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to be in the midst of the recently conferred Dr. Emmanuel E Adade. Welcome, my brother. Welcome, Doc. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. This is, I think it's the first meeting I'm going to have as a doctor.
Woo! Woo!
So it's humbling and it's an honor as well that I can be on this platform. I know it's an international platform. People watching across the nations, and so it's I feel really honored to be here and really to share and how our passions overlap in areas that I think you're So thanks for having me, and looking forward to our discussion. It just started already. Great.
Thank you so much. So before we go, people are saying this bio. So people say, okay, that bio is, as I said, I was saying to pronounce some of those words, but I really want people to know who is Dr. Emmanuel. Who is he? Where does he come from? Sometimes people think, oh, we were just dropped on planet Earth and we are just doing things, milestones. Who is Dr. Emmanuel?
So I will say, first of all, this question comes up very frequently nowadays. And I like to start off by saying I'm a child of God, right? That's my first identity. So with that being said, I was born in Ghana, in a little town in Accra called Kisaman. And so we grew up in Kisaman, born and raised all through in Kisaman till, and so I went to elementary school down in Kisaman and Plateau, Trinity Academy. And I mean, the journey continues. I went into high school in Achimota Senior High School, went to University of Ghana in Legon to study biochemistry and did a master's in molecular biology, and then find myself in the US in 2020 before the pandemic to do my PhD. So that's a little bit of my background, and I'm born in a family of 5 to a teacher parent and fire service officer. And I'm second in line in the 5 kids. I just have passion for people and passion to do stuff in a way that is unique, and so that's just being a little bit about me. Aside research, aside my professional life, I like to play piano and I like to do music, and that's really where also again we connected, right? Music. So there's just a really strong desire to do music as well as my career, and so that's in snapshot. That's a little bit about me, and we could go into more details and specific questions along the journey, and I could provide more insight. But that's it's in summary. That's about me, where I was born in Ghana and how I got to the US.
Wow, wow. So you just mentioning that from Ghana to the United States of America for your PhD. How has been that transition for you from Ghana to how was it? How was it?
So this question, actually, I wrote an article about this, and I sent to the International Student Office, and we used it for a workshop. And so the transition from Ghana to the US, academically, I was ready, right? Culturally, I wasn't. In terms of adaptation, I wasn't, because the weather was different. People react differently. People would speak differently. So that aspect of existence and living and making a new community, that was where I had to really adapt and be flexible. Intellectually, academically, I was ready because I already had a master's, so I was kind of in the line to pursue a PhD. So that was really adapting and really navigating how to build community and how to establish an ecosystem around you that will support your growth and your journey throughout your PhD. So that transition was a little bit of where the issue is. But again, personality helped because I'm an easygoing person, so I'm able to adapt. And so I was able to really come in strong by building really important communities like church communities and friends, and reconnecting people that you previously interacted with, and keeping those relationships really steady. Learning dynamics were slightly different, right? Because the board of instruction here is slightly different back home. So quickly we had to be flexible to adapt. But I think human beings are built to adapt, okay? And right from the issue of evolution of human race, if you can adapt, you can make it onto the next generation. So transition and adaptation is like really important, right? So being able to adapt was really one of the things that I really understood early on, that to be able to be successful in a new place, you have to be willing to adapt and build those skills for adaptation and stuff like that. That's really well.
Wow. I love the aspect of adapting. You have to learn that you were ready, but you're also getting into an environment and a space whereby people, different cultures, different background, and now you also have that enormous challenge ahead of you. You're starting a journey whereby you're not just learning or researching, but you're also forced now to really learn, because in academia, you're going to collaborate, you're going to learn from other people. So there's that also pressure that you have, and you have to learn quick so that you can be able also to fit in, so that you can be able to collaborate, especially in the academia. But now, as you were mentioning this now, you did your master's in Ghana. My question now is really in this dialogue, this NextGen 3 dialogue, is now, what inspired you to do a PhD? Sometimes you could have said, masters, you're done, okay? What inspired you? Say, okay, I'm not yet done. I'm not going to attain the highest qualification in academia, being going for a PhD. So what really inspired you to really begin this journey?
So this is a really, really good question. And I got asked this question a lot once I graduated away from my defense, like, what made you even come into the PhD in the first place? And I think I would say this. I think it became more clearer during my master's that I was going to do a PhD. And it was also because of my end goal. I wanted to be in academia. I wanted to be a vice chancellor of the university. I saw how things were going. I'm like, when I became vice chancellor, I had a lot of ideas. So I remember in my master's interview, I told them that it's like, what's your career goal? I'm like, I want to become a vice chancellor. And it was just one of those regular conversations. And I thought, did I just commit myself to this career? And to be a vice chancellor, I have to have a PhD. So that was also one of the things. But more personally, I think I was just ready to scale up my knowledge. I was ready to take it on to the next level, to expand my knowledge, to be able to have that training, to be able to start an independent program, right? So that was really what inspired me beyond my master's to go for a PhD in the field I'm in. So I wanted really to build that expertise, build that network, build that expertise that will allow me to start an independent program, to allow me to also really start this research and have my own niche in the space, in the domain, right? To be able to carry on some of these. So it was really pushed by just a personal desire to expand my expertise and also prepare me for the next big thing, which was like to become an academic leader. And that required you to have that extra training. And so that was the catalyst, I'd say on that side. Yeah, many things, many factors maybe contributed, but I think these two stand out. I didn't set out to have a PhD when I was in an undergrad, so or even through to high school. I thought I was going to go to medical school. So as I went along, I thought that this was fun and this was something I could really push and become what I became in it, you know.
So you're saying that even when you're in undergrad, this was not anything that you had in mind, and maybe when you're now doing your master's, your graduate school, now maybe there was some certain clarity of this is what I want to do, or vice versa. Like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe on that, I'm going to maybe ask this question is a supplemental now, that we maybe have someone who say, okay, all right, maybe undergrad, they know they do not see that focus of, okay, I can also embark in this. Maybe they want to do a PhD for research. Maybe they want to have a career in higher education. The preparation, how is it easy? How we was told that preparing for a PhD is enormous. For you, what was your experience as you preparing for the PhD? Is it the application process? What advice would you give to someone? Say, okay, I've heard Dr. Emmanuel was saying this, and I'm someone who's like him. I can relate to him, but I'm also afraid of, okay, I've heard, if you go on TikTok, you hear people doing podcast. No, there's some phobias that is made people to say, okay, I will not go there. I will not pursue this journey. I want you to be able to also maybe I don't know, maybe you're going to help them, or maybe because, hey, we told you so. So I really want to also, from your experience, there's someone who's doing their master's that will say, I'm planning to go for a PhD. I think it's something that I love to do, maybe for academic reasons, or just to say I want to be an expert in my field. I want to be able to motivate myself to attain something that is higher. I want to be able to also to get into higher education. I want to also to be a researcher, to contribute to literature gaps. What is your submission to that?
Right. So I think again, that's why this podcast is important, right? Because that information I didn't have getting into undergrad. So I remember the first person I knew that had a PhD, and that was a doctor. That wasn't a medical doctor, was Dr. Alex Jamisi, who was one of our pastors then, and he had come from the US and he did his PhD. But I knew him as a doctor. So I asked him, like, naive as a kid, I asked him, like, when I go into a hospital, it's like, it's not a PhD in medicine. It's not a doctor of medicine. It's a PhD in academics. So you become an academic. And so I had that foundational idea that PhDs existed, right? But through to undergrad, I didn't have that exposure because I probably had seen only one person who had a PhD, and maybe another person, Dr. Bowen, who ended up being my master's advisor. But I didn't have PhDs around me, right? In my neighborhood, I didn't have PhDs around me. In my church, I didn't have PhDs around me. So I wasn't exposed to the reality of PhDs, right? So when I saw PhDs in college or undergrad, they were like our professors. They were like the high end, like, there's like these people like revered, like they are the top of the top, right? And they're like, and they came in the class and they have this sort of really great expertise and great knowledge, and they're like, how can I even be like this? So again, this information didn't exist when I was entering undergrad. It all came up to me and it was overwhelmingly, and I thought people that I think PhDs were superhuman, right? But as we break the chips down, rather these are ordinary people, These are not people that have any extra abilities that makes them stand out to be able to excel in PhD. So the question again is that how can I inspire somebody in an undergrad who has a desire to go into a PhD? I think PhDs are doable. And not because I think it's easy, but I think PhDs just mean people that are resilient, right? People that have a drive and a desire to pursue something and say, hey, I want to do a PhD. I didn't know that you could do PhDs straight from undergrad, because in Ghana, you have to do a master's. In the US, you can just go straight from undergrad to a PhD. Then you can really discover yourself. And I've had people come into I've seen people who start their PhDs and have no experience in research. And then they go and then they evolve and they become really great scientists. So there's no real make of what a PhD person should look like, right? So there's no prerequisite to what a PhD person should. And this might be controversial, but that's my opinion. I think anybody can do a PhD, having the right information, having the right desire and passion, and then channeling your academic interest there. And that's where you get a PhD, because you have an academic interest and you have a research interest and you want to just delve in there. And because of your interest and passion, it will sustain you through it. Because at the end of the day, I think that the most successful PhD students are the most resilient PhD students, not the most incredibly smart people. I think the people that just have the patience and the determination to go through each day at a time, and they're going to come through at the end successful. So there's no prerequisites for what you could do to become a PhD. Unfortunately, when I say that with a caveat, is that there's an academic requirement, the GPA. So if you want to do a PhD, you have to be strategic about how you accumulate your grades in undergrad. Because once you have this desire, and I think that even if you don't want to do a PhD, I think that really setting yourself up with a good GPA is important, right? Pathways for you, even if you decide to take another career that is really different from an academic career. I think having a great GPA is important, because I know people that didn't have great GPAs and they couldn't make it beyond their undergrad, right? And it's rather unfortunate that is where that is how the system is. And we can't change it overnight. It's rather unfortunate that people would really look at your GPA and look at your scores to be sure that you can survive and thrive. But once you get into the program, it's really not about your academic abilities. It's about just being able to resist and having a passion that will fuel you coming in day out to reach a goal. And that's really what it is. And that's just my experience.
Wow. I'm learning a lot of things, the resilience, the patience that you need to have. It's like a journey, right? It's like a journey. It's not like, okay, I'm getting in and I'm out. It's a journey that you're walking each and every day, and needs you to be patient and resilient. And thank you so much for that. And this opens up.
Can I add something though? Because you're actually essentially going to something that's unknown. Whatever you're going to study in a PhD, that doesn't exist before you do your PhD.
Wow.
Because if it existed before you, then it's literature, right? So whatever you're coming to do, it's unknown. So you are going to really create this path. And so it's just like picking a needle from a haystack. You really don't know what you're doing. So you just have to be patient to really walk through that journey and discover and build and come up with really innovative things that will advance the field. So I think it's just really that you're just walking the journey of an unknown. So there's no essentially really hard. It's just people that can be resilient and push through day by day would get to the finish line.
Wow. This is amazing. And now we have unpacked the process. You're in the PhD program now, and this one maybe something that people don't know that we are now in there. It's a two-pronged that I'm going to give. What was your biggest challenge as you're doing a PhD? That's number one. And number two, how did you manage? Because some of people, as you said, we talked about patience and resilience, meaning that there are times where you need to take care of yourself. There's a times where you have a burnout, right? Sometimes things, like you say, you're getting into uncharted territories, whereby you're supposed to come up with solutions, right? And you're supposed to be creative, to come up with ideas, right? To better new research. And my question is, how did you manage that? The stress, the burnout, sometimes the unwillingness to push? Okay, I think I've reached my limit. How did you navigate through that process as you were doing your journey?
Right. So, this is still very fresh, right? I think one of my greatest challenges in my PhD is really having that pivot from my intended goal, because I'm a biologist by training. I'm a biochemist at that. And so I started this research again, right? And we had really clear goals. My best and I had clear goals about what our outcomes were, expectations were in terms of for the project that we're going to run. And we, again, you mentioned in the introduction that I studied microbes, right? Studied the invisible world of microbes. I studied which microbe is with who and how those microbial communities interact. And so we started out to set up this fantastic experiment where we wanted to use advanced imaging to map out this microbial communities and determine who stays with who and how do those build and work together. And so we encountered this really, really big challenge, which was that, in summary, the state of the art technology at the point I was doing at that point of the research couldn't allow us to cross that barrier that we're facing in terms of being able to decipher these microbes that were closely related to each other, right? So there was a limit in the field in terms of the technology that was available for us to overcome this. And so we had our experiments were not progressing because we had a technological limitation, right, that we had to overcome. And so my boss just says to me, you know, and I've had people talk to me about something like, why won't you just change your project? My boss is like, you know, Adam, would you consider using machine learning or artificial intelligence to solve your problem? It was when AI was just started and AI was just getting into full life. And I had never done computer before. I never done coding. I never done science. I never taken math. I mean, I did math, but I never did like advanced math in like logic, understanding all those intricate linear algebra stuff. So when they presented the option to me that can you explore machine learning and artificial intelligence to overcome this technological limitation at the point of that research, and I said yes, you know, because I thought AI was fancy. I didn't know what I had no clue what amount of work needed to go into to make that work, you know. So that was really hard. And so I took that on very cheerfully. And when I started breaking it down, I'm like, no, I need to understand math. I need to understand computer science. I need to understand fundamentals in AI. There was so many things I needed to learn, right? And I had no clue how I was going to take that because I couldn't go back to math classes, right? And I couldn't take all those classes. And so it was a very challenging moment navigating that through a self-taught process. So I had to teach myself. And there were days where I felt like maybe perhaps if I was a computer scientist, this project would move faster than it was. It took us 2 years. It took us 2 years from when we found the problem to we found the solution. It took us 2 years. And I think that those 2 years were where I learned the most because those were where the challenges kept building, right? When you solve one problem, the next problem shows up even bigger than the previous one you just solved. So it's just that consistent, that keeps rising up. So that was my major challenge, really accepting something that I had no clue what it was going to look like. And then realizing that I just signed up for something that was beyond my expertise at that point. But I just, as I said before, resilience and patience and dedication. And there are days where you felt incompetent because it wasn't your domain, it wasn't your strongest hold. And you expect that at the level of PhD, you would be comfortable in starting and doing what you're doing, and you're starting something totally new. You have no clue, no fundamentals in any of that. And at the level of your PhD, you can think about how that will look like. But again, the point is you have built those skills that allows you to thrive under these circumstances. Right? And I think that's the kind of things that you really develop beyond the intellectual part, is being able to develop those skills that I can apply in multiple contexts, right? That will allow you to thrive and overcome challenges. So that's a major challenge. And I think I overcome that just by being dedicated and being patient. And days I felt like, I wasn't the right person. And so to do this project, I felt like maybe if we get somebody who's a math or computer scientist, would really accelerate the pace of this project. But having the advisor that's still very patient with you and allows you to grow in the process of becoming, and we really did it, and we were successful. We have a new technology that we are going to put up on the market pretty soon. So it's very, very, it was very rewarding at the end of the that stretch of drought of no data. So it was a kind of a drought where you're working, but you can't see results, right? So you can't publish no papers. You don't have any data. Just building something so that was one of my biggest challenge, accepting something I had no clue about. Would I do that again? Maybe with caution, right? But that's where you learn the most, I would say. That's where I learned the most.
Wow. And I think you mentioned about your advisor, mentors, and I want you to just highlight how the importance of these mentors, like your advisors in the PhD journey. Sorry, what role do they play as a PhD student? Your advisors, what role do they really play in as far as surviving the PhD journey, even also for success?
And I think the way we're sharing is cuts across many disciplines. And I think having the right advisor is important than having the right research. For anybody going to PhD, think about your advisor as one of the things that you have to really screen. Not the research output, because you're going to really develop great research output along the way anyway. And many people that do PhD and have their own labs or have their own programs are potentially great people. Some of them just don't know how to really mentor students. So you need a very good PI that is going to be somebody that's willing to allow you grow, right? Someone that's going to be there to walk you on the journey, because essentially they're going to go on this journey, and you need that person who's going to cheer you on, who's going to be supportive, who's going to give you opportunities for growth, who's going to give you time to take time off if you have to take time to relax, if you have to take time off to bend. Because many people that don't finish their PhDs or ending up mastering out, it's not because they're not great scientists or great students. It's because they didn't have great relationship with their PIs. So if you want to go from start to finish, you think about that, because that's the constant thing. The research keeps changing, but the advisor will remain constant for 5 years. So that's very important that you keep that in mind, that your advisor is the one that's going to be constant. The research will change. If you meet your goals, another question comes up. So you're going to have great research with anybody. Make sure the person is good for you, is a good fit for you. I think I missed this question because you mentioned before, how do I cope with burnout? And I think another thing is that every PhD person or anybody wanting to do a PhD should have something that they can do outside their program. Okay. An extracurricular outside your program. It could be in music, it could be in swimming, it could be in sewing, it could be in writing, it could be anything that can help you to disengage for a second. And I use myself for example. Anytime I'm playing music, it's a moment of me to disengage. When I'm playing music, I completely forget about anything I've got in my research. You know, you catch me on the week and say, hey, what is a DNA? I probably wouldn't be able to answer that. But those moments allow you to disengage. It allows you to take time off, and it gives you that rebirth when you come back to your work. So you need that kind of really strong extracurricular interest that would really help you to sustain your book journey, because there are days where you'll be crushed, actually, and days that you'll be really excited. So you need, but again, as I said before, remember, the advisor is constant, but research will keep changing. So get a good advisor, and then the research should be second.
Wow. Get a good advisor. Your research can change, but you need to have a good advisor, of course. And And now, as we are talking about research, you mentioned those words. I'm not going to try to use those words because I might cut my tongue. Which research, maybe people or audience want to know which research that you did, and maybe in that note, what impact do you think this research is going to have to the world, to the community, to the world? What impact do you think? Are people ready for this? Are we ready for this? Are you ready for this? Maybe if you can, maybe tell our audience.
Right. So this question, I think it's a really big question, right? Because you have to know whatever you're doing, how does it apply to the world, and that's how you get your support in terms of grants. Because they want to know how it's going to help the person off the street. And so. But I think that in general, for where every aspect of research is going, I think that there'll be questions that we can solve in the next 5 years that we are not able to solve today because of the explosion of new technologies, right? And AI, right? So we can do things that we were unable to do 10 years ago today because of the technology that's advanced, right? So what I did was really advance this technology that allows us to visualize microbes to the level that we can discriminate, train right, one strain from the other, right? So microbes that are almost identical, we can still discriminate them. Because we need to identify microbes in how they function in context of a community, right? For health and for disease and for our oral health and for our GI tract and for our skin and for our environment and how these microbes can be leveraged upon. But most importantly is the technological part, right? It's how we can really utilize AI to solve questions that were not solvable because we couldn't think about it. And I'll give an example. Before the emergence of computers, right? I guess people didn't even think about how they could get emails to somebody at a click, right? Instant messaging, right? Instant messaging. Because we advanced our technology, we advanced internet, but we didn't know how to advance instant messaging, right? So that really changed the game. That changed the whole world, right? It changed how we can communicate. So I think developing technologies at this point and leveraging on AI for our human needs is going to change the world. And this is kind of controversial, but because of where I stand, my standpoint of AI and tech development, I think that we can do things that we are not able to do years before because of this new era we're in. And I think that we can leverage on that to solve many things in health, disease, and politics, and just data mining, data utilization can really advance the way we see things. And also beyond biology, it's like really thinking about how you can look at really fundamental things occurring in nature, right? And use that to solve something in politics. Right? Look at how microbes just really live together and think about how human beings can do the same. Or look at really simple things like how can I apply fundamental concepts in mechanics in politics? Like it sounds very, very abstract. But I think that there are core things that are transdisciplinary. We can apply things from political science, in biology, in sociology, just really finding that innovation to utilize those tools across board is what I think changes the game. And that's what I think I've come to learn, is that we can really apply things in multiple contexts because everything is kind of interwoven. We don't see fields as standalone anymore. I think all fields are kind of merging together. And again, with the emergence of this advanced computing and data mining, we can really think about how can we see patterns across this? How can we see structure? What are the things that we can see that mirror each other, even though they're in different contexts? And how can we utilize those to solve and be innovative, right? And just be innovative and think about ways that, because the only way we can go is to think about ways that we can bring in things from that didn't exist from previous knowledge. I think that's really where I think my research really contributes us to seeing those really fundamental principles of life and how we can leverage on them to advance our understanding of how things work in health and disease, pretty much, and beyond.
Wow. So we are in the doctoral mind, and I'm loving this. We are in the doctoral mind, thriving to go to research. And thank you, Ede, for that unpacking of some of the research. And we are so grateful for those research, those innovative ways that are being brought through research. And maybe just in 30 seconds, you talked about these new ideas. Do you dream about these ideas? What happens to you guys? Do you dream about these ideas, or you just sit and then it drops in your mind and then you are now expand? What happens? What happens when these ideas come? These ideas are birthed in you. Do you dream, or do you just wake up and say, "Hey, that idea, now I'm not going to"? Maybe you can unpack in a few seconds. For you, maybe for you. This is how I got, yeah.
Right. So sometimes the ideas come by inspiration, and sometimes the ideas come by your advisor, right? It's like he or she is it's an expert in the field and has read a lot of literature, so he can suggest something to you. But I think as you go on the journey, you have to be aware that you're the primary custodian of your research. Okay, your research falls on your laps. You drive it, you make it work. Okay, so your advisor may suggest stuff to you. But those important moments sometimes come from you because you see the data every day. And for me, sometimes it drops in me even when I'm playing the piano, because I'm listening to a song and I'm looking at how complex the song has been or how easy the song has been. And when I'm unpacking that, I'm like, maybe this might apply to this. So when I go to the lab, I apply that same principle. Not the same concept, but the same principle. So there are stuff that drop in me, and I think God gives it to me. But sometimes it's in really, really obscure moments. I'll give you an example. One time I was running a script, a code, and I kept getting errors, right? And so I go to the backyard to try and pick some twigs and clear the place. And so I'm clearing the backyard. And then in a flash, the script came back into my eyes again. And I'm like, oh, I see where the error is. And I went back there and I opened, I'm like, oh, there's a full stop missing somewhere, you know? So it's like, you have to just be proud of your moment. And when those moments come, sometimes I'm in church and I leave church and I come straight to school, to the lab. Because while in church, I got an idea. And sometimes you do the idea before you tell your advisor, because sometimes they might shut it down because they are experts. You know, they might be like, oh, we've tried this in the field, we've tried and tested this. We don't think it will work this way, you know. But sometimes you get that inspiration and get that idea that is very unique. And it's nobody knows, you know, but based off knowledge, it's not possible. But you just gotta try it. That's what it takes. Just trying that out and moving. So sometimes this idea just comes to you. Sometimes it comes to you by reading other people's work and be like, oh, this came from this person's work. Maybe I can just apply. But again, broadly, I think for me, most of the things that I've applied to my research were things that came outside biology. Things that I got from music, from listening to the news, from just thinking about stuff that is non-biology related, and thinking about my car, I was driving my car or something and seeing something on the road, and I'm like, this might. So just like really non-biology stuff gave me a lot of inspiration and innovation for biology, actually. So it's like, it's kind of weird, right? Where you get inspiration for biological stuff from non-biological. I think it's powerful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as we move on with our conversation now, a lot of things have been covered as we having this dialogue and this conversation. Now, so when you look at that now, we are in congratulations you for attaining the conferment of the PhD. So when you reflect now on that journey, there is sometimes you are going through that journey. Could you say was pursuing a PhD the right decision for you? When you look at those, now you've attained, you know, doctor, the title's changed. The title, yes, changed. People, when you arrive, people, it's now a PhD. There's now a PhD at the end of the name. Would you say now was it the right decision?
Was it the right decision? I would say.
And honestly.
Honestly, I would say yes. It was the right decision for me, just because of my interest and where I'm going. But if you ask me, what my advice to somebody whether to pursue a PhD or not, I think it really depends on your interest and what your career goals are. Some career goals don't require a PhD. And even with a PhD in the job market, sometimes you can be asked, PhD with zero experience, right? Is it worth it? Can you end up getting a master's or something or get it? So it's multiple factors will determine whether a PhD is right for you or not. For me, I think I felt it felt right for me. Today, am I the world expert in microbiology or microbiome studies? Maybe not, right? But have I made contributions to the field? I have. And so you don't really, I think things that change along a PhD is stuff that prepare generally for life. And I think that, I mentioned this to a couple of people that are close to me, is that I think throughout my PhD, I have learned so many things. One of them is my character has been really refined. My patience has been strengthened. My faith in God has been expanded. My ability to work with people has been strengthened, my collaboration. So the skills I need for life has been built beyond the research. Those skills, I think it's what I think I treasure the most. My journey as a PhD is those times of refining and those times of learning to depend on God and beyond your own abilities, you know, and when the time is right, God will give you an escape out of it. But I think overall, I have benefited from my PhD because of the part of life that God has touched to that, how God has walked me through this journey, how God has really taught me, how God has given me insight, and how God has really stretched me to a point where it's when I was going to break, you know, where you feel like you're in a drought, you know, and overcoming those moments and just being resilient. I said that before, like developing the ability to be resilient, to power through obstacles, to think on your feet, to be innovative, be, you know, like all those really, really important skills you need, social skills you need for life, to be adaptable, right? To adapt, to be flexible, to, you know, those are, I think those are the virtues that I really have garnered from this. And I think those are the most important highlights I signed the breakthroughs we've made. Personally, I think I've been made a better person through this process. I've come to realize, and then when you get to the end, realize that it's beyond the academic laurels. It's that's just one part of it. People ask me, should they call me doctor? I said maybe, and maybe not, you know. But I think really the journey is what you, how you have been made, and what has come out of the process, right? And I think that is what will stand tall among multiple PhD holders, you know, because some PhD holders are not attractive. You can't even engage them in a conversation because they're like, hey. And people ask me, like, how do you do your PhD? You're so chill. I'm like, you know, like, but I guess, as I said before, those are the things that character that have been refined along this journey. I think that's what I treasure the most. So I think it was worth it.
Wow. And with that, if you could go back, would you still choose the same path?
The same path, the same research. Maybe not, with caution, right? I like to say with caution because I think even if I'm supposed to redo a PhD in the same field, I'll face really totally different obstacles. I'll face really totally different challenges. The questions might be differently asked and positioned differently. What would I have different? I have advantage of being able to, as I said, the character that I've built will be strength for me to be able to go. So if I start to run a second PhD right now, will I do it or would I not? Will depend on whether I want to. Again, and undergo that massive level of transformation, you know, in my body. But maybe I won't do that PhD. I may not, but the same path, maybe not, with caution, right? I love biology. I love the fact that everything around biology is applicable in many. It's complex as music, is complex as our human lives. Nothing is predictable. Yeah, I think that's fun to go in every day and try. But again, you need that bandwidth to be able to deal with unknowns. Like nothing works the way you expect, you know, and just being able to accept those moments, I think, valuable. Valuable. I remember I had an interview recently, and they asked me, "Tell us a time where," no, they asked me, "Can you tell us how you're able to meet deadlines?" And I said, "In science, we don't meet deadlines, you know, nothing works the time we expect it to work." And the panel was laughing, and I said, "But I mean, I could tell you occasions where I've met multiple deadlines, but in research, there's no deadline because nothing works as it should. And so you have to be willing to break some deadlines, but meet some other deadlines." But again, I think there's really no answer to some of these things. It's really no straight answer to some of these things. It's very, very variable. And it's how you feel at that moment. Will I do it again? I
might. Actually, you raised the question I wanted to ask now of how do you balance your family? How do you balance these things? Because you are doing this research, you still how do you balance your family time? You go to church, you are also a maestro in music, you know, how do you balance these things? You're doing research. How did you balance these things? Let me say.
Right. And I think, and I'm going to say this again, and I think I repeat myself multiple times because I want to make that point very strong, is that all these other aspects of your life reinforce each other. Okay. Wow. So your research, your academic life reinforce your family life, reinforce your Christian life, they reinforce your extracurricular. So you have to really treasure all of those experiences. So what I've come to learn to do in this moment is to treat all of those as priceless as they can be, right? So when I'm in school, I'm solely in school. I've said it before. When I'm in church, I'm solely in church for the next 2 hours. When I'm doing music with you guys, rehearsals, I'm present there 100%. When I'm with my family, I'm 100% present. Because I don't carry piece and piece of each and of them, every part of these to each other.
Okay.
Right? So I don't spend time with my family thinking about my research, or spend time in church thinking about my research, right? Because if you have a good day in the lab, you're going to have a good day at home, right? So all these reinforce each other. So I treat all of them with utmost priority, and I use those as my blockers, right? Or my moments of disengagement. I said that before. So when I'm with my family, I totally disengage my research, and so it allows me to come back with a fresh perspective. When I go back, when I'm at school, I forget my family totally. I mean, I know when they call me, I'm going to respond, but in that moment of me being in school and working in school, I think my brain is just learning to partition those things, and it doesn't think about my kids or think about my music. When I'm in the church, I'm solely there. So these extra things reinforce each other for me, and being able to partition them in my brain, and my brain being able to adapt to treat them as important as they could be without blaring through each other. Like some people that are in church, and then they start thinking about their work, right? So they're like just like totally disengaged about whatever they are doing in that moment, and it just makes you overwhelmed, right? Because you're thinking about the thing that didn't go well, and you're missing the moments that are supposed to be in treasuring and enjoying this moment in these extra things. So when I'm playing piano, I see that's my really great relief, and I try to express myself on those moments. So again, all these for me, they reinforce each other for me, and so I treat them all as priority.
Wow. Hey, Dr. Edo. Oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. And I hope people that are watching, that are going to watch this podcast, are going to be inspired, and also above all helped in navigating this journey. This is inspiring. And I loved also, I'm going to divert a bit. In your bio, you're also a founder of the Dream Achievers Network. Maybe you can share with us, what is it all about, this Dream Achievers Network? Is it also another group of biologists that you're grooming in mentoring?
No, it's not a group of biologists. It's just, I think it's same as a social intervention program, right? And I think that's where we also overlap with our passion, right? And so this was in 2018. So we had our first gathering. And again, as I said, it was also because of my upbringing, right? And the exposure. Once I got some level of exposure through college, I'm like, no, there's no way this could be missing out on these kids. So Dream Achievers really focuses on really kids starting off at 6 years old. And I think the first group of people that we looked at, most of them are in the college right now. They were in high school then, but some of them are even doing their PhDs right now. But it's really giving that exposure, and it was just something for my local community, and it's now blown up a bit bigger. But it was just for people around me in my local communities that I'm like, no, you guys got to hear this. You guys got to know this. And if I knew this at high school, I probably would have been much more prepared, right, for the career ahead. And I realized that everything was just because people were exposed. You know, and so we started Dream Achievers with 3 missions: education, exposure, and experiences. We're like, I thought that those 3 things made a holistic human being, because I got so much exposure just by being educated, and just by meeting people, and just by people's experiences. I thought that was very valuable. So that's what Dream Achievers essentially were doing, just really giving people those really 3 understanding of those 3 elements: education, exposure, and experience. Because whatever you're exposed to definitely changes your perspective, and really enhances your success, I think.
Wow. And you know, these organizations, nonprofit, which inspires and brings young people. For me, I'm someone who's so passionate about young people. I'm someone who's passionate about, I believe, I always say that yes, the future is for the young people, but I always say, I learned this from one of my mentors, that the future is not something that is at a distance. The future is now. the future is now, meaning whatever decisions, whatever platform that we create, these conversations that we're having are for now, because if these young people, if they're going to watch if their decision that they make today is going to impact of what will happen tomorrow. So we're not getting into a conversation, but I want you to maybe, what would you want to share? Maybe there's someone who's saying, I'm in the process of preparing my applications. Maybe they want to apply for the cycle that is coming in. Maybe someone is doing their undergrad, saying, I'm someone who really loves research, or maybe someone who's saying, like what I said, who's saying, I really want to reach that pinnacle of being a problem solver, of attaining. Like I said, there are some of the some of the things that you learn through the process. You build up your resilience, your character. There was a character shift. Let me say a happy shift when you're doing your PhD, which made you to be to be someone better. So what advice? What would you give to these as we conclude our dialogue? There's someone who's watching, is someone's going to watch, who's maybe in, I don't know, in Accra, there in Ghana, in Zimbabwe, there in South Africa, there in the UK, in China. They are going to watch this. We don't, and they'll be saying, okay, because of that conversation that I had at Dr. Emmanuel say, it really changed my perspective. It really helped me to be, even some people who are still doing their PhD, they'll say, oh, I didn't understand. I didn't know that. Maybe they're only focused for their PhD, but after hearing this conversation, okay, this can happen. I can still have partition my life to say, to also to invest in my family, to invest also in my well-being, right? So what can you say?
Right. So that's a very good question. Okay. And I think it's good, maybe even towards the end of this conditioner, we demystify some concepts, idea of people, PhDs. And first of all, is that PhDs are not for special people.
Wow.
It's not for anybody that is special. It's everybody can do a PhD. I said before, everybody willing to find a passion that you can channel your academic interest, okay? And then you can pursue that, because think about it, it's an academic pursuit, okay?
Yes.
So you can make that commitment to your life to pursue that academic goal. I find that interest, because that passion is what will sustain your PhD, okay? That being said, the next thing is that for each academic level that you get to, the preceding one plays a big role in that. And once it's done, it's done. Okay, so I'll tell you this. When I finished my undergrad, if till today, nobody's asked me, what was your GPA? Nobody's asked me, what is your GPA in your master's? Nobody's asked me, what's your GPA in your PhD? Because it doesn't really matter.
Wow.
But with caution, you need a good GPA to get to your next step. Once that is done, that becomes side conversation for now. And then that next step prepares, just like going through high school and go to university, right? You need a cutoff point to make that grade point. Get a cut, and then that high school diploma, nobody even cares about it normal, right? So grades are important. So you try to make sure that you have sufficient grade for your next step. Unfortunately, few occasions people are able to get into a PhD program with horrible grades. And that's also because they demonstrate beyond academics that they have knowledge in the field and they have passion to move the field forward. Those two are good requirements. But again, people from Africa, people from Ghana, people from trying to go to the US and come to US institutions, grades are so much important. Connections are also important, okay? But talking about getting to a PhD program, so I'm going to focus on grades. That you can do without even worrying on anybody for any internal connections or anything, because get your grades together. Make sure you have good grades. I don't care what your interest is. I don't care what. Just make sure you have good grades, enough to get you into a PhD. That's all. And then once you get there, you're going to move on from there. So again, make sure you satisfy your grade requirements. Make sure that you have grades sufficient to get into the next program. And then the next thing I'll say, demystify, is that PhD is an academic pursuit, but also is a professional pursuit. Okay. You're going to spend 5 years of your life pursuing a research and are going to get on the job market. So you don't treat it like you're treating your undergrad program where you decide to be nice or not be nice and you still get a grade and leave because it's 1,000 or 200 class. This is a really small group of people. So you have to make sure that you come in strategically and be nice to people, because you need those nice people to get you into your next step, okay? Because at that point, your grade doesn't matter. It's your people that you know in your network that matters to get you into your next point. Okay, so in your PhD, you have to be strategic to make really important connections and be nice to people, because those become your professional network. Okay. So I think the bottom line is anybody can be a PhD. You just have to find a critical passion and focus your interest there. And again, there's no linear pathway to this. Go straight from undergrad, you could go, but if you want to go into a PhD, I would recommend you join in as soon as possible. Unless for specific fields where you want to get work experience and come back and pursue your PhD or pursue your master's, I recommend that you try and go a PhD as soon as you can. Definitely use networks in this conversation to partner to put your documents together. I guess that's what I can say. You should try and do it as early as you can, because the longer you wait, you just get distracted and you might not be able to get through it to the end. People do it in their end stages, but I think get it done early and move on. You don't have to be special. You just have to be willing and have the right people to review your documents for you to put together to apply. And I think that's like really important, right?
Wow. Thank you so much, Adam. And today to our audience, we're navigating the doctoral mind, surviving, thriving, and changing the world through research. And today I was graced by none other than Dr. Emmanuel E Adade, and I'm so excited that we had a conversation, a dialogue for close to an hour now. And we're unpacking a lot of things that I believe that our audience, if you're going to listen to this, you're going to take time to listen through. There are certain nuggets that were unpacked that I believe are going to be helpful in the journey that you're pursuing. You might not be doing a doctorate, a PhD, maybe your master. Some of the things that are being said here, even if you're doing a master's, your undergrad, these are key nuggets that they can also help you in your journey. But now time is fast spent, and we are going to be ending this conversation. Any last words, Dr. Adam?
Any last words? Thank you for having me, Chris. To everybody watching this podcast, and I think this is really important that I say this, is be bold. Don't let nobody stop you. You don't have to have it figured out, because it's a journey of the unknown. Take that step in pursuit of your passion, in pursuit of your desires. It's not reserved for people that are special class or anything. Anybody can be a PhD, provided you just have passion. So take the bold step, look into your interests, have a clear plan of what you want to do, which countries you want to explore. I think every country is great for a PhD. Obviously, the US is good as well because we're here. Just take that bold step, go for it. There are no restrictions. And don't worry about the program, don't worry about what, because sometimes we get confined. I want to do a program in AI, I want to do a program in biology. But again, we are in such a world that every program interconnects, right? So you can even pursue a program, PhD in public health, and you'll be doing stuff that are relatable to social work or politics. So just really think about it, but have an open mind, have a plan. Everybody can be a PhD.
Oh, wow. Everyone can be. Thank you so much to Adam. And those who want to connect with you can connect with, maybe you can share your platforms quick in a few seconds.
All right. So my name, Emmanuel Adade, is, I think it's Kasakos on my platform. Emmanuel Adade. You see it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I keep my full name I just did that because I was looking for USB sign and it just stayed the same way. So I have my full name on my platforms. Just Google it, send me a message, and I'm confident I will reply you. And if you need anything, because of Chris, I'm gonna just refer to us. They say, "Hey, I met you from this podcast with Chris," and I'll be able to really catch up on that email or stuff like that. But if you want my email too, it's my first name, EMML and my last name at gmail.com. So thank you so much again, Chris.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adam, and to our folks. Thank you. This is all for the NextGen Dialogue Point 3, and we hope we are going to meet you in our next episode. Thank you. Yes, sir.